Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can structure your Common Application essay and tips and strategies for crafting a compelling narrative. So if you know the Common App essay, you know it's all about the narrative you are building and the structure you are using to kind of line up your ideas, line up your experiences, create a reflection that really highlights what you learned from the story and from the growth of your experiences. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Nam, and I'm a first-year medical student at Washington University. I've been editing essays for around the past 4 or 5 years, and I started making these videos to kind of share the lessons I've learned from editing and from writing my own essays, and things that I learned along the pathway to writing a standout essay. And I kind of want to just share all the things I've learned. So. Um, yeah, let's just get started. Like I said, everything is all about crafting a compelling narrative and kind of figuring out what is the way that you can structure your Common App essay. And the really good thing is that if you kind of know how to do this, the structure, you'll kind of be ahead of not only the writing game of like kind of writing faster and being able to structure your experiences, but you'll also be able to organize your thoughts in a way that'll help the reader really identify your standout essay. And so a lot of times when I'm editing students' essays, something I try to focus on is how can we structure this a little bit better, and how can we rearrange the paragraphs, and how can we focus on specific aspects of your essay that'll help you bring out this wow factor, this dynamic element that really, really highlights the essay and helps the college figure out that you are the right fit for their candidate, for their school. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to be starting out with one excellent example and one average example of kind of a structure for an essay. So we'll start out with this excellent narrative structure example, and this is the prompt. Some students have a background or story that is so central to their identity that they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please share your story. So if you know the if you know the Common Application essay, then you'll know that this is the first prompt that they give you, and you can choose to write this. So I want to show you kind of how a student might look at this prompt and kind of develop a structure for a narrative that they would want to write for the story, and kind of like the thought process behind developing the structure. First, opening hook. I've always felt like an outsider in my small town, never quite fitting in with the other kids at school. But it wasn't until I discovered my love for photography that I truly found my place in the world. So I think this is a really good hook. And the reason why is because when I'm reading a lot of students' hooks, they're very descriptive, but they don't actually establish much. It might be like a lot of descriptive language, but it doesn't really share a lot about who they are as a person, and it doesn't really introduce the essay very well. I once read a student essay about somebody who once wanted to become a doctor, and they were writing about how they started reading Caillou, or they started watching Caillou, a TV show, when they were younger, and they really liked some of the episodes where Caillou was playing doctor, and it was a pretty good hook. But it didn't actually relate to anything else in the story. And you can kind of see how this opening hook really, really captures the reader's intention, because it just introduces a problem, and it introduces where the story is going to go to demonstrate the solution. So the problem is that this person always feels like an outsider, and then the solution is that they discovered a love for photography that helped them find their place in the world. And so this is a good hook, because now I kind of have an expectation for what the rest of this essay is going to be about. The rest of the essay is going to be about how their love for photography helped them find a place in the world. And if you can kind of read the first one or two sentences, and it sets the expectation for what the rest of the essay is going to be about, that I think is a great opening hook. And so a lot of times you can kind of get away with not really having great descriptive writing or really flowery language if you kind of just have the ability to establish an opening sentence that sets the expectation for what the rest of the essay is going to be about. Another thing I like about this hook is it actually has a little bit of contrast. So the first sentence is outsider in a small town, and then the second sentence has finding a place in the world. So this person feels like an outsider in a small town, but now has found their place in a world. And so small town is a small thing, and the world is a bigger thing. And they are an outsider in a small town, but they have found their place in the whole world. And so you can kind of see that this type of language makes it really good as an opening hook, because I'm really intrigued by this language, and I'm also really intrigued with how they're going to satisfy the expectations that I have for this essay. So those are some examples of what makes a great opening hook. The second one, the thesis statement. And so this is another way to structure your essay, is kind of starting with the opening hook and then going to the thesis statement. What is their thesis statement? Through my lens, I have been able to capture the beauty and complexity of the world around me, and I've learned to see myself as part of that beauty and complexity. So automatically, I can kind of see that this person has a structure, a narrative, and a thesis, something that they want to write this essay about. And the essay, I think, is going to be about how they've kind of learned about beauty and complexity in the world, and not only about the world itself, but also about themselves and how they're a part of that beauty and complexity. So I'm kind of expecting sort of like a Buddhist style essay where, you know, you're understanding yourself as part of the world and understanding the world as beautiful and complex. And so this is a great thesis statement because one, it's unique to the individual, right? If they wrote that photography has helped me pay more attention to detail, that's something that everybody who does photography kind of learns. Or if they wrote, playing soccer has taught me the value of teamwork. That's something that everybody who plays soccer kind of learns. And so you want your takeaway, your lesson, to be kind of unique to you as part of that experience. It's not like another photographer will have the same exact takeaway as this person, whereas another soccer player probably will take away that they learned about teamwork as well. And so you want to have a unique takeaway to the experience that you had. If somebody else had the same experience, they shouldn't have the same takeaway. And that's kind of what makes your takeaway unique, because it's unique to who you are as an individual and what you took away from the experiences. Okay, the next thing is the narrative structure. And so generally, most essays will have something called a hero's journey. And the hero's journey is kind of what is the journey that you're going under to kind of develop and grow as a person. And so this essay is going to use the hero's journey by showing how they first discovered photography, the challenges and obstacles that they encountered, and ultimately the triumph in realizing that there's beauty and complexity in the world that is reflected by the beauty and complexity of the self. This is basically how the student is figuring out, well, what is the structure I'm going to use? So basically how I imagine this essay playing out is that they're going to have a breakdown of paragraphs where maybe they had an obstacle that they encountered or challenge in which they weren't so good at photography, and then how they started going out there and taking pictures of nature and kind of realizing how beautiful nature is. And I can see some beautiful sentences and examples of things they would write about and capture as a photographer. And then slowly how they learn to integrate that beauty and complexity of the world into the beauty and complexity of themselves in their everyday life. And so I think that this would be a great essay because it kind of establishes a thesis, a narrative, and just in general has a unique activity with a unique takeaway. And so the theme of this essay is basically the transformative power of self-expression and the importance of finding one's own voice in the world. Okay, so I think that this is a great structure for an essay. And so if you kind of are brainstorming and you're brainstorming and brainstorming, and then you come up with this type of structure where, you know, you have a great opening hook, you have a good thesis statement that establishes your unique takeaway from the experience or activity that you've had. You can establish a narrative structure in which you explain what are the exact experiences and stories that you want to share in your essay. Then you can just write one sentence about the theme that you're going for. What is the lesson that you want somebody to take away from the story? That is how you develop a great essay, by being very clear about these four things. Okay, now I want to show you an average narrative structure example. So the prompt is, reflect on a time when you challenged a belief or idea. What prompted you to act? Would you make the same decision again? And this again is a different CommonApp prompt. And so the opening hook is, I've always been interested in science and technology, but it wasn't until I took a course on environmental ethics that I realized that the impact technology can have on the natural world. Okay, so this actually isn't too bad of an opening hook. I think it's still pretty good because it still establishes expectations. It establishes that, you know, this person will write a story about how they got interested about technology on the natural world. Now, it can improve. Again, this is not a bad example. This is just an average example. And how to improve this is maybe they can kind of explain exactly what they got interested in. You know, I kind of see that they're going to lead into technology on the natural world, but I don't really know what belief or idea they're going to write. But again, this is not a bad opening hook. I think that there's a lot of potential for this essay, and I'm intrigued to know where it goes. Okay, the thesis statement. Through my work experience of working on an environmental research project, I learned the importance of questioning our assumptions of technology and its role in society. So, why I think that this thesis statement needs improvement, and again, this is good for a first draft of a thesis statement, but to make it into an excellent thesis statement, I would kind of need to see a little bit more specifics. So, anybody who works on an environmental research project will probably learn the importance of questioning our assumptions of technology and its role in society. But I want to know what this student's specific takeaway is from working on an environmental research project. What did they learn from that experience? Did they learn something specific about environmental ethics or waste management or third world countries or something like that 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 really struck them and took them by heart? Did they learn about maybe the process of asking questions about environmental research and its relationship to history? Did they figure out something about the ethics of environmental energy consumption and how it's different from what they initially thought? Tell me something specific that you got from this research project that other people who worked on the same research project might not take the same thing away. And that's what makes it a unique and compelling thesis statement. So again, what makes it a good thesis statement is that if somebody did the same experience as you and they don't have the same thesis statement or they don't have the same takeaway, then that is a good thesis statement because it's unique to you. Okay, next is the narrative structure. So this person is saying that they're going to follow a linear structure with the main focus being on the research project and the challenges and obstacles faced in conducting the research, but there's no clear overall structure that ties the different parts of the essay together. And again, I really want you in your narrative to be focused on disparate elements of your story, of your experiences, of everything, and kind of making sure that there's something that ties it together. And that's what your thesis will help you do. It helps you tie together all these stories into sharing what is the life lesson that you learned as a result of this. And so I really want you to focus on improving clarity within your structure. And if you can do that, you're going to be having an excellent essay. And so the theme is about questioning assumptions, particularly about the role of technology in the society. But I want you to focus on specifically what your theme or takeaway is. So what exactly do you mean by role of technology in society? Are you saying good or bad? What technology? Everything is technology. What specific technology in society are you talking about? Is there a specific technology related to environmental ethics that you are thinking about? And then maybe you can make this even more nuanced. Are you talking about mining in the Amazon rainforest? Are you talking about ecodiversity in, I don't know, jungles in India? What are you exactly talking about? And what technology do you mean? So that's why I mean that. That's what I'm saying. When you add more specificity, you can make your thesis statement even better and you can add more clarity to your narrative. And if you can do that, then you'll have an amazing narrative, kind of like this, where you're able to explain your narrative and your story that you want to share with the common application, with the college applications. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I hope that this was helpful in kind of organizing your thoughts and making a brainstorm, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Bye.